king of all wild things, Maurice Sendak, a film by Ashley Brown and Angela Beck.
Maurice Sendak was an American author-illustrator of many children's stories who passed away as a legend at the age of 83 in the spring of 2012. He was born in Brooklyn, New York in 1928. He received many awards up until his death in 2012, including 2 Caldecott medals in addition to various accolades. Sendak recognized his love of books and drawing at an early age, which was influenced a lot by his father and older brother. According to Sendak, his father was a storyteller who would tell racy and embellished stories from the Bible. At the age of 12, he viewed the Walt Disney film Fantasia, and Sendak decided to become an illustrator. Sendak attributes a lot of his illustration and writing style to his childhood. Some great examples of Maurice Sendak's works are Outside Over There, Where the Wild Things Are, The Sign on Rosie's Door, and The Night Kitchen, and 2 concept books from the collection The Nutshell Library called Alligators All Around and Pierre, A Cautionary Tale. In nearly all of these books, Sendak uses the fantasy genre to connect with children and their imagination. The fantasy level in his books are considered low due to the fact that the fantastical situations and places happen within the real world or the character's imagination.
Sendak's characters are mostly children that start off disrespectful, unappreciative, unruly, lonely, imaginative, bossy, angry, or uncaring. By the end of the books, however, the children seem to change by becoming brave, caring, responsible, and calm, while realizing they are loved and not alone in the world. Outside Over There's ending is a good example of this. When Ada gets home with her baby sister, there's a letter waiting for her from her pa. He tells her that he loves her always. The children go through changes, experience strange things, and come out of them loved and peaceful. However, Maurice Sendak makes sure that those children are still the same imaginative and curious children they were at the beginning. For example, in The Sign on Rosie's Door, at the end, Rosie is sent to bed in order to recharge her energy and imagination. But when her mother comes in to check on her, she's lying on the mat and the cat is in the bed. Rosie pretends to be the cat when she goes to sleep. Her response to her mother? Meow. Most of Sendak's books are set within the character's home and move to a magical place or the child's imagination. One example of this is the story of Pierre. Pierre is left at home because he doesn't care about going out with his parents. Somehow, though, a talking lion shows up and tells Pierre he's going to get eaten. Pierre doesn't care, so he ends up in the lion's belly. Sendak uses these types of low fantasy genre settings to induce into the reader's mind the theme of strong childhood emotions and how they are dealt with by the characters. A lot of the meaning and themes he wants to convey come from the conflicts he expresses in his stories. Conflict between characters arise from parents who are not always present, parents who are strict or annoy the children, which then lead the child's imagination to overtake them, or strange creatures that reveal themselves to antagonize the main character in a world different from their own. An example of this is in Outside Over There, where dad is away and mom is distracted by sadness. Sendak shows many plots also that deal with conflict of self, where children deal with their ever-changing emotions, such as anger, loneliness, fear, and boredom. Sendak doesn't always follow the typical rise and fall of a story, nor use the plot's main universal features in sequential order. Example, in the story of Mickey and the Night Kitchen, Mickey is lying in bed when he hears a racket. Sendak then follows Mickey through a dream state where bits of action or climax happen early on. There is, however, a denouement where Mickey comes up with a solution for the scary bakers, and there is a peaceful ending where Mickey wakes up comfortably in his bed. The sun is shining. Maurice Sendak tends to use a recurring danger theme and element in his picture book plots. Sendak says the reason for this is in regards to his own unhappy childhood. The Holocaust was a serious event in his life, and many of his family members were killed during it. Also, the kidnapping of the Lindbergh baby was a traumatic time and terrified him. His relationship with his father was an uneasy one. Sendak was influenced by him, though he always felt a little bit afraid of him.
Sendak says, childhood is a tricky business. Usually, something goes wrong.
Sendak has deep meaning in all of his work. His themes can be subtle to some, but most can see that his goal is to show how children deal with their emotions. Children face the same emotions that adults face, but have limited ways to express and deal with them. Maurice Sendak says that he refuses to sugarcoat the perceived innocence of childhood. He has expressed the importance of not lying to children. He writes for all readers with an open mind, but with children at the heart of it. He does not write for those parents or adults who find offense in minute or superficial details. Children are the main readers he wants to identify with his characters. When it comes to the author's writing style, Sendak tends to not be very wordy. Each sentence gets to the point. He is descriptive to the point of need and interest, but not overly descriptive. His word choices are easy to understand, yet exciting for young readers. And outside over there, Sendak's word choice and use of beautiful poetry make for a vivid and intriguing tale of a brave little girl. An interesting note about the author's style is his reference to folding chairs, eating, biting, and food in most of his stories. Hats, hoods, or costumes are also used in his illustrations in nearly every one of his works. Some examples are Max's costume, the goblin's hoods, and Rosie's many use of hats and dress-up attire, even on her cat. Childhood trauma influenced a lot of his work. For example, In the Night Kitchen was inspired by memories of him being abandoned at the World's Fair by his sister in front of a creepy midget baker stand. And Outside Over There, Sendak uses his thoughts on the Limburg kidnapping, and it's filled with personal data from the author's life, as well as numerous allusions to his previous work.
The late Maurice Sendak loved to help readers fill in the gaps with text-to-illustration connections. He liked to use either just his illustrations or just his text to clue the reader into things not always obvious. For example, where the wild things are. Early on in the book, if you look closely, there's a picture of a wild thing on the wall, drawn by Max. This implies that the wild things came from his imagination.
When Sendak isn't trying to subtly show a deep meaning or lesson to children, he has works like The Nutshell Library, which include the books Pierre, A Cautionary Tale, Alligators All Around, and ABC's book, Chicken Soup with Rice, about the months of the year, and One Was Johnny, a counting book. This collection is a set of 4 concept books, each one with its own lesson, either academic or moral.
In Alligators All Around, Pierre, and The Sign on Rosie's Door, Sendak's lines are drawn using a sketching technique. He often overlaps lines or crosshatches to create hair and amounts of thickness. Sendak uses a larger, round and fluffy shape on his characters' clothing and bodies. An example is the bakers from In the Night Kitchen. There is a 3-tone color scheme used in Alligators All Around, Pierre, and The Sign on Rosie's Door. The simplicity of this technique gives Sendak's illustrations a clean look. Sendak uses light in his illustrations utilizing the moon and the sun. The moon is present on every page of In the Night Kitchen until Mickey goes to bed. The use of black light turns the moon and stars into spotlights. And Outside Over There, the sun is shining whenever Ida finds her sister. And Outside Over There, Sendak excels at giving his characters a flesh-like skin tone. He uses a painterly quality totally different from the 3-tone color scheme in other works. Sendak is a master at giving each of his characters, whether monster, child, or animal, readable expressions. Many of his works have characters that resemble each other.
Sendak uses the genre of low fantasy to express his themes of children's real emotions, childhood traumas, and imagination at all levels. The genre of low fantasy involves settings, outlandish characters, and circumstances that are in the real world, yet turn into make-believe, extraordinary, or unreal worlds. In Where the Wild Things Are, Sendak uses imagination as a gateway to fantastical situations, where in his loneliness, Max travels to the land of the wild things to escape the reality of his boring bedroom. Sendak also uses personified animals to teach children morals and their ABCs in both Pierre, A Cautionary Tale, and Alligators All Around. Maurice Sendak has said that he is not afraid of showing the real and scary emotions that children have, and that he wrote for children, not adults. Although he is no longer with us, writing new and potentially creepy yet meaningful children's stories, his legacy will live on through the classic stories of Max and his amazing imagination.